In the ancient kingdom of Ida flows one of Nigeria's most mysterious waters, the sacred Inachalo River. To outsiders, it is simply a quiet river moving peacefully through the land. Fishermen paddle nearby waters, birds circle above the trees, and cool winds pass softly across the surface. But to the Igala people, Inachalo is far more than an ordinary river. It is a river surrounded by warning, memory, and ancient belief. For generations, elders have repeated the same strange rule: never catch fish from Inachalo River. The reason behind the warning is what made the river famous across Nigeria. Locals believe that any fish taken from the river will never properly cook, no matter how long it remains on fire. Old women in the community still tell stories of pots boiling deep into the night while the fish inside remained strangely raw. Some say the river carries a spiritual mark placed upon it long ago during a violent conflict between the Igala kingdom and the Jukun people. According to local history and legend, the river was spiritually protected during ancient wars to prevent enemies from surviving on its waters. Over time, the belief grew stronger, and the river became feared as a sacred place no one should misuse. Yet despite the mystery surrounding it, the Inachalo River is calm and beautiful. At sunrise, mist rises gently above the water while fishermen from neighbouring villages avoid speaking loudly near its banks. Children who grow up around the river are taught respect before curiosity. Many locals believe the river listens. One of the most repeated stories tells of a visitor who ignored the warnings after hearing villagers speak about the uncookable fish. Certain the stories were only superstition, he secretly caught fish from the river and prepared them over a large fire. An hour passed and the flames continued burning. The pot continued boiling. But according to the witnesses who later told the story, the fish remained strangely uncooked inside. Fear slowly replaced laughter. The man reportedly abandoned the meal before dawn and returned to the river to beg forgiveness. Whether every detail happened exactly that way or became stronger through generations of storytelling, the story remains deeply respected in the community.
Near the ancient town of Ijebu Ode flows the quiet and mysterious Yemoji River, a river surrounded by thick greenery, cool breezes, and stories that have lived far longer than anyone can remember. In the early mornings, mist often rises gently above the water while birds sing from the trees nearby. To visitors, the river feels peaceful, almost comforting. But beneath that calm beauty lies a tradition the local people take very seriously. There is one rule everyone knows: never enter the river after eating esuru, a bitter yellow yam known in Yoruba communities. The warning has been passed down from elders for generations. Families teach their children from a young age never to joke about the taboo. Some villagers avoid even mentioning the yam near the river out of respect. According to local legend, a great guardian snake lives deep beneath the waters of Yemoji River. The creature is believed to protect the river from defilement and punish anyone who breaks the sacred rule connected to the yam. Long ago, the elders spoke of a young traveler who arrived in the village during festival season. After sharing a meal with some locals, he unknowingly ate a suru yam. Laughing at the old traditions, he later walked to the river to swim despite repeated warnings from nearby villagers. At first, the water remained calm. Then, according to the story, strange ripples began moving across the river. Even though there was no wind, the traveler suddenly rushed out of the water in terror, claiming something brushed against his leg beneath the surface. The villagers were frightened. Some believed the guardian spirit had revealed itself. Others said the river was only warning him to never return carelessly again. Whether every part of the story happened exactly as told is impossible to prove today. but the belief surrounding Yemoji River remains very real to many people in the area. Far away in the ancient lands near Saki lies the sacred source of the great River Ogun, a river surrounded not only by flowing water, but also by royal mystery and centuries of tradition. The river begins quietly. At its source, the water slips gently from the earth, surrounded by thick grass, ancient trees, and a silence many villagers describe as spiritual. Birds sing softly in the distance while cool winds move across the land. To strangers, it appears peaceful. But to the people of the community, the river is deeply sacred. Among all the traditions connected to the river, one rule stands above the rest. The Okdere of Saki, the traditional king, must never look directly at the river's source face to face. The taboo has existed for generations, passed carefully from one ruler to another. Elders say the restriction is tied to the origin of the river itself, a story woven into Yoruba history and legend. According to local tradition, there once lived a powerful woman named Ogun, believed to possess mystical powers. She was said to be married to the Okere, but conflict eventually grew between them. One night, after fleeing from the palace in sorrow and anger, she reached the forest lands near Saki. Then, something extraordinary happened. The woman vanished. In her place, water began to flow endlessly from the earth, forming what later became River Ogun. The people believed she transformed into the river itself, living forever within the moving waters. From that day onward, the king was forbidden from staring directly into the river's sacred source, out of respect for the spirit believed to dwell there. Some say looking upon it carelessly would bring misfortune to the throne or disturb the peace between the royal family and the river spirit. Over the years, many visitors tried to separate history from myth. Some saw the story as symbolic folklore meant to preserve the sanctity of the river. Others believed every word completely. But even today, the traditions remain respected in many parts of the community. What makes the story endure is the calm mystery surrounding it. The river does not roar or demand attention. It simply flows, quietly carrying generations of memory, belief, and royal tradition through the land. And beside its waters, many locals still speak softly, as though the spirit of Ogun may still be listening. Long before modern roads reached the quiet villages of Kogi State, there flowed a mysterious river known as the Erinjiyan River, a river feared, respected, and protected by the people who lived around it. To strangers, it looked like an ordinary river surrounded by thick green forest and smooth rocks, but to the locals, it was sacred. The people believed the river was home to a powerful goddess whose spirit watched over the land, and the fish inside the river were not seen as ordinary creatures. They were called the children of the river. What made the river truly mysterious was this: the fish were never afraid of humans. Villagers fetching water often saw large fish swim peacefully around their legs. Children could stand at the edge of the river and watch them gather near the surface as if they understood human voices. Nobody tried to catch them because there was a law older than memory itself. Never harm the fish of Erinjiyan River. The warning was passed from one generation to another. Elders said anyone who caught or ate the fish would face terrible consequences. Some stories claim the fish would refuse to cook, no matter how long they stayed on fire. Others believed those who ate them became seriously ill or died mysteriously afterward. One of the most repeated stories in the community was about a stubborn hunter from another town who laughed at the traditions. He believed the villagers were only trying to scare outsiders away from the river. One evening, he secretly cast his net into the sacred water and caught several fish. The villagers begged him to release them, but he refused. He carried the fish home proudly and prepared them for cooking. But according to local accounts, something strange happened. Hours passed, yet the fish remained raw inside the pot, despite the boiling fire beneath it. Frightened, the hunter reportedly became sick shortly afterward. By morning, fear had spread through nearby villages, and the story became another warning never to disrespect the sacred river. Whether every detail is true or shaped by generations of storytelling, the reverence for Erinjiyan River remains very real today. The river is still treated with deep respect by many locals, and the fish continue to swim freely without fear of humans. For the people of Erinjiyan, the river is more than water. It is history, it is a mystery, and it is a sacred bond between nature and tradition. Deep within the ancient forests of Edo State flows the mysterious Arakhuan River, a river surrounded by silence, sacred tradition, and stories passed down through generations. To strangers, the river appears peaceful and beautiful. Tall trees bend gently through the forest canopy, and the cool stream glides softly across smooth stones hidden beneath the surface. But to many locals, the Arakhuan River is far more than ordinary water. It is a sacred place, tied deeply to Benin history and spiritual belief. According to oral tradition, the river was named after a woman called Arakhuan, a wife of an Oba of Benin, who was once unable to bear children. The story says she suffered constant mockery from the other wives in the royal household because of her barrenness. Heartbroken and overwhelmed with sorrow, Arakhuan fled deep into the forest. There, according to legend, she collapsed to the ground in tears. The elders say that as she cried, water suddenly burst forth from the earth where she fell, creating the sacred stream that later became known as the Arakhuan River. Elders warn that crying babies must never be taken near the water. Women during menstruation were traditionally forbidden from approaching the river, as the waters were believed to be spiritually sensitive and easily angered by impurity or disorder. To outsiders, these traditions may seem mysterious or difficult to understand, but within the local communities, they are treated with deep seriousness and respect. The rules are seen not merely as superstition, but as part of the spiritual balance protecting the land and the people around it. Even today, many locals continue to regard the Arakhuan River as a spiritual site. Women seeking children are said to travel there to pray quietly beside the waters. Traditional worshippers and spiritual practitioners still perform rites at certain sacred spots along the riverbanks, especially during important cultural seasons. And despite the passing of modern time, the atmosphere around the river remains strangely calm. Many visitors say the forests feel unusually quiet near the water, as though the land itself remembers the sorrowful story of the woman whose tears gave birth to the river. Whether every detail is historical truth or a legend shaped through generations, one thing remains certain. For the people connected to Arakhuan River, the story is alive. The river is not only water, it is memory, it is grief, it is tradition flowing endlessly through the heart of the forest.